Okay, so then good afternoon, everybody. We are to start today's session, right? In today's session, my main target is to discuss chapter 1 in the Prince and the Pauper. Understand? So, we got an idea about what Prince and the Pauper is, and even last time we used a small technique to remember the plot summary. Isn't that so? Now we know the basic keywords of the plot summary, right? So we have a keyword memory. It is something like a chain, right? So the linkage between these keywords can be easily remembered in our mind. So in this particular book we have how many chapters? In this book we have 30. How many chapters are there? There are about 33 chapters. Okay, so the last chapter is Edward as the king. It is the last chapter. So now you need to focus your attention towards the lesson, because I am going to take a few minutes to revise the lesson to give you an idea about what we have already discussed. So in the meantime, we will just focus our attention on the basic concepts of the novel. When we discuss about what a novel is, definition, it's a lengthy story with a lot of characters, and it has a particular setting, which means the time and the place, right? And it has thematic concerns or themes, the messages to the society. Understand? So those are the basic themes. In addition, we have the part of language, which means Vatali, right? Come to the lesson, right? The point of view. Okay, point of view, first person, second person, like that we have point of view as well. Then we got an idea about the significance of the title of it. What is the title? The Prince and the Pauper. So we can clearly understand that this is the disparity, difference, gap, or we can say distance between two social layers. What are the two social layers? It is the upper class, rich class, elite class, right? As well as between the upper class and the lower class, which means the working class, and those are called dregs of the society as well. Okay, so here we have two major characters. Who are the characters? The Prince, Edward Tudor, is the Prince of the Wales, whereas we have the other character who is from Ovalcourt, Tom Canty, a pauper boy, right? A pauper boy. So now the title is really significant because it represents the whole content of the novel in one sentence. Understand? So because we can easily understand it's about the difference between the rich and the poor. Okay, right, now we will go for the first part of it. So Prince and the Pauper, chapter 1. In chapter 1, the birth of the Prince and the Pauper. Right, now I am going to share a reading technique. Understand? Now I am going to share a reading technique with you, because whenever this is not only limited for literature, but it is important for language as well. When you learn a language, remember that when you learn a language, we have four major skills. What are the skills? Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So reading is the skill which we normally practice in the school. You read the textbooks and you read some other articles, sometimes tutorials, and then you face exams, right? So then reading, we have something called sub skills. In reading we have something called sub skills. මොකක්ද reading වල තියෙන්නේ? උපකුසලතා, right? ඒකේ කියනවා පුතේ bottom up approach and top down approach. What are the approaches? Bottom up approach and top down. What do you mean by bottom up? Bottom up. The other one is top down. Bottom up කියලා කියන්නේ දැනට ඕගොල්ලෝ පාවිච්චි කරන්න මෙන්න මේ approach එක මම හිතන හැටියට අපි කතා කරලා බලමු. ඕගොල්ලෝ දැන් meaning එක ගොඩනගන්නේ වචනවල තේරුම අරගෙන, වාක්‍යවල තේරුම අරගෙන, භාෂා හැකියාව පාවිච්චි කරලා එහෙම තමයි තේරුම් build up කරගන්නේ. හරි? හැබැයි ඒකේ අනිත් පැත්ත තමයි පුතේ දැන් වචන එකතු කරලා වාක්‍ය හැදිලා ඡේද හැදිලා එන තේරුමනේ අපි දැනට කරන්නේ. අනිත් ක්‍රමය තමයි top down කියලා කියන්නේ. මාතෘකාව දිහා බලලා හිතන්නට ඕනේ මොන වගේ අන්තර්ගතයක් මේ ඇතුලේ තියෙයිද කියලා. අපි ඒකට කියනවා මොකක්ද? ඒකට කියනවා using schematic knowledge කියලා. Using your schemata. මොකක්ද schemata කියලා කියන්නේ? Using your background knowledge. Understand? Background knowledge. The birth of the prince and the pauper. When you see the birth, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? It is the beginning of a new life. Understand? It is the beginning of a new life. Because the birth is one of the important events in one's life, right? So then now you can't remember your birth, but sometimes you know when your brothers and sisters were born, sometimes you may have an idea about it, right? So it is a very happy moment or sad moment. What kind of a moment is that? Right? It's a very happy moment for all the family members, because a newcomer is there for the family, isn't that so? So here is also the birth of the prince and the pauper. Remember that both of these boys were born on the same day, but in two different geographical locations. Understand? They were born in two different locations, but they were born on the same day. And is there a difference? Yeah, there is a greater difference between the birth of these two babies. Why? Because Edward Tudor was born in a palace, right? And what do you call it? Tom Canty was born in Offalcourt, which is called a very poor area, right? So it is called a pocket, right? Pocket means a very packed place, right? So now we will just go through it and we can become familiar with the basic information of the novel as well, right? I want you to read this one, and in a minute I will restart the session again. All right, now we will discuss it. Here, now let's read. In the ancient city of London. If you have a pencil or a highlight pen, please highlight London. So setting is very clear, right? The place or the geographical location is very clear. Why? Because this particular story happens not in Sri Lanka but in London, right? Okay, then on a certain autumn day, then highlight again autumn. What are the four seasons normally we encounter in other countries? Summer, it begins with the spring, summer, autumn, winter. Now in other countries, now this period seems to be what? Because it is the Christmas Eve, right? So then it is the winter season, snowing is there, right? Okay, right, then next point is autumn day in the second quarter of 16th century. Underline second quarter, 16th century. In which century this happens? This happens in 16th century. You have to remember these terms. London, autumn, 2nd, 16th. Okay? That is the short note of today's lesson. Okay? London, autumn, 16th, 2nd. Or 2nd, 16th. A boy was born to a poor family. A boy was born to a poor family. That is called of the name of Canty. So he was born to a very poor family. The name of the boy is Tom Canty, right? So that is the other term, right? Canty, Tom Canty. Then who did not want him? What is the meaning of that particular part? Who did not want him? Which means that the family did not want this boy, right? Why? Because did they expect? No, they didn't expect that one, right? They didn't expect the birth of that boy, and it was a extra barrier, extra nuisance, extra trouble for the family. Understand? It is trouble for the family, right? That's right. Then අනවශ්‍ය කරදරයක් විදිහට තමයි උන් දැක්කේ. On the same day, another English child was born. Remember, underline the word same day. Same day. So now you see the way the writer has used his technique of narration. Understand? because a lot of similarities are there. They were born on the same day, right? And the other one is child was born to a rich family. Tom Canty poor, on the other hand, Edward Tudor rich. So underline the word rich, rich. Name of Tudor. What is the name? Edward Tudor. Tom Canty, Edward Tudor. Who did want him? Who did want him? Why do you use the word did want him? He could have, the writer could have mentioned wanted him. Why do we use did want? What do you think? ඇය පුතේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ do go did want. For example, I say that I do want a car. I do want a car. What does it mean? If not, I can say I want a car. What's the difference? It is the intensity is very high, which means ඒකේ අවශ්‍යතාවය දැඩිව දැනෙනවා. මට ඕනෑමයි කියනවා නම් අන්න අපි do want කියන්න පුළුවන්. Understand? මට මෙහෙම කියන්න පුළුවන්. Go, do go. What's the difference? Go කියන්නේ යන්න. Do go කියන්නේ ඵල යන්න. හරි? ඒතර මෙතනදී අපිට තේරෙනවා මේ අර්ථය තවදුරටත් enrich කරන්න තමයි නේද? To emphasize the intensity of that particular word we use to end it. And who did want him කියලා කියන්නේ? Everybody was waiting for the birth of this boy. Right? That's why who did want him, to emphasize the necessity. අත්‍යවශ්‍යතාවයේ ස්වභාවය පැහැදිලි කරන්න තමයි did කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Okay. Next one. All England wanted him to. Not only the family, not only the royal family, but also all England. Why? Because he is to be the king one day. එයා තමයි රජ වෙන්න ඉන්න දවසක. ඌමයට රජ කෙනෙක් අවශ්‍ය වෙන නිසා. England had so longed for him. So underline so long. So long. England had so longed for him. England had so longed for him. Hoped for him. Not only longed but also hoped. We want a king for our future. Right? Which happens to Sri Lanka as well. No? We are also waiting for a better king. Because we don't have one yet. Right? Okay. Again, there's a vacancy. You just try out, one day you can become president. Still we want a person. Right then, next one. Next one is prayed God for him. Not only that, prayed God for him. They even get the support of religious institutions as well, right? So then, that is for example, when you have a problem, what does your mother do? Your mother goes to the temple. Sometimes organize Bodhi Puja, and then sometimes she tries to consult horoscope readers, taking your horoscope, right? And then she wants them to give some predictions based on the horoscope, right? And if not, they go to something called Devala, right? Why do people go for that? Because if you can't control the situation, if the things are beyond your own circle of controlling, so they go for external supports. ඒක අපිට වැරදි කියන්න බෑ නේද? If you are in that kind of situation, you yourself also would do that, because we can't predict the things, because human life is unpredictable. Okay. Then now that he was really calm, and the people went nearly mad for joy, right? Have you ever went mad for joy? Taja? Yes, on which day? When you got the results of the scholarship exam. Yes, what about Akain? Akain, have you ever, have you gone mad for joy? When? Sorry? Carrom match. So you became the champion, right? So when you went mad for joy. Yes. What about you? A scholarship exam. What about you, Pata? Scholarship exam, right? What was happening inside when you were checking the results, when you're typing the number, right? So the heartbeat is You know, it is risen, no? Right? What is that moment? Have you ever gone mad for joy? Yes. What is the day? When I got my scholarship results. Now you understand. In the same way, people went mad for joy. Then, mere acquaintances. Acquaintances are the people whom you know, but not exactly. Understand? Something that you know some outsiders, but you don't have a very closer relationship with them. Right? එහෙනම් අපි දන්නවා නමුත් අපි හරියටම කවුද කින්දවන්න වැඩි විස්තර දන්නේ නැහැ. Mere acquaintances hugged and kissed each other for another cried. Right? They hugged, right? They kissed and they cried. Why? Because it is the pinnacle of their emotional setting. Like they expressed their emotional feelings or their feelings in such a way. Understand? That's why it is called. So they went mad for joy. And not only that, everybody took a holiday. What do you mean by everybody? Everybody means the people who belong to the upper class, middle class and the lower class. So everybody, what did they do? They got a holiday. They had a holiday, right? And high and low, rich and poor. Now these are the social restrictions and the social limitations, right? Social ladder කියලා කියන ප්‍රාපිය. Rich and poor. Feasted. What did they do? They organized festivals and they ate tasty food and enjoyed and danced and sang. Right? When you got your scholarship results, did you dance? So you can remember the situation, right? Right? Okay. Then next one is dance and what is that? Dance and sang and got very mellow. They were very happy, and then they kept this up for days and nights together. Not only one day, but days and nights. See the happiness they had, right? So it was a kind of an everlasting happiness, right? For example, if Sri Lanka becomes a developed country, so all of us can be very happy because it is the opposite of that level, right? So that's why. By day, London was a sight to see. It was a sight to see because now for Christmas time, if you go to other countries, it is a sight to see because you know that so many festivals are there, Christmas carols are there, right? So then what do you call the Christmas trees are everywhere, and you know Santa Claus is there. And I tell you that I saw a beautiful garden in a daily newspaper, right? Sometimes you may have seen that one. So then Santa Claus is coming to Sri Lanka and wearing what do you call this his beautiful clothes and his what do you call this that what do you call the snowy cap and everything, right, with gifts, right? And he went over the parliament. He was flying, he went over the parliament, but on the other side he was naked, right? He was naked. It's a cartoon. What is the reason? He has been exploited by the people in the parliament. I mean the politicians, because of the politicians, right? He has been exploited. Kita surah කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ, right? Santa Claus සූරා කැමට ලක් වෙලා කියලා කියන්නේ it hints that ඒක තමයි සාහිත්‍ය කියන්නේ. It hints that politicians are exploiting all the people in the society in introducing new tax systems and all, right? You will see the reality in January, right? Okay, let's move on. Now that is literature. ඒ කාටුන් එහෙම බලන්න ළමයි මොකද මේ කාටුන් වල අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් මතු පිට අර්ථය නෙමෙයි. ඒක තියෙනවා ගැඹුරු අර්ථයක්. මේ poems වගේ තමයි මේ poems වල තියෙනවා surface meaning and deep meaning. Surface meaning කියලා කියන වචන අර්ථය, deep meaning කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකේ ගැඹුරු අර්ථය. ඒක තමයි writer wants to communicate. Okay, we move on. Then London was a sight to see with gay banners waving from every balcony and housetop, right? And splendid pageants marching alone. What do you mean pageants? The things like processions, perahera, something like that. So they have the bands, even the dancers, right? And that's called pageants. So then next one is marching alone. By night it was again a sight to see. not only the daytime but also the night time as well. Then with its great bonfires at every corner. What do you mean the bonfires? Bonfires, fires that you can see at night. For scouting we have these things, right? So then, so the bonfires, and sometimes they are drunken and they sing songs and they enjoy, right? They share their happiness. Then next one is again to sight the bonfires at every corner, and troops of revelers making merry around them. Troops of revelers making merry, they share in their happiness, right? Expressing or enjoying. There was no talk of England but of the new baby. Everybody is talking about the new baby. But do they talk about Tom Canty? Nobody talks about Tom Canty. Edward Tudor, Prince of Wales, who lay lapped in silks and satins. So please highlight the term silks and satins. Silks and satins. And now we get an idea about that. The things Edward Tudor experiences are very, very expensive and luxurious, comfortable. Understand? So he had what kind of a life? Luxury life like you all have. Do we have a luxury life? Right? Actually we don't have, right? We are having kind of a middle range life, everybody of us, right? But the luxury life is different because they have the economic power to, or they can afford to buy the most expensive things in the world, right? That's right. Silks and satins. Unconscious all of this fuss. Does he know anything about what is happening? He doesn't know because he was a newly born baby, an infant, right? Nobody knows, that he doesn't know anything about what is happening around the situation. Not knowing that great lords and ladies were tending him and watching him again and not caring either. Does he care about the arrival of different kinds of people? He doesn't know. He doesn't mind about anybody. Why? Because even he has no idea, right? He was a newly born baby and he has no idea. Even he doesn't care about the people who come to see him. But now you see, in this chapter 1, the writer has used a lot of sentences to talk about whom? Edward Tudor. Whereas Tom Canty is described using 2-3 sentences. Now you see the focus. The focus is to highlight that Edward Tudor is a big figure in the world, whereas Tom Canty is not that much. He has been given only a few lines, right? In the narration also, Edward Tudor is highlighted. Understand? So that is a kind of a scientific thing that you can understand. And there was no talk about the other baby. There was no talk about the other baby. Tom Canty lapped in his poor rags. Underline poor rags. Underline poor rags. Except among the family of paupers, right? He is with whom? Family of paupers, right? When paupers are concerned, you may just try to see when poor people are concerned. So all the family members are very poor. Sometimes the people they associate also are very poor, right? Sometimes you may have seen, you may have heard the term that similar birds flock together, right? Then what does it mean that same, alike people live together. එක වගේ මිනිස්සු එකටයි යන්නේ. Okay. The next one is, except among the family of paupers who had just come to trouble with his presence. It is a greater trouble for them, kind of a extra nuisance. Understand? So this is the general summary of the chapter 1. I think you understood it to a certain extent. It must be very clear. Right. Now we have a challenge. What is the challenge? We have to analyze the differences which are highlighted in this chapter between Edward Tudor and Tom Canty. Right. Now, where was he born? Edward Tudor? He was born in the palace, right? And over which is called London, right? And then what about Tom Canty? Opal Court, right? Edward Tudor, rich. Tom Canty, poor. Edward Tudor wears silks and satins, whereas Tom Canty wears poor rags. Everybody talks, everybody prayed God, right? Everybody feasted, danced, that celebrated the birth of Edward Tudor, whereas nobody was there to celebrate the birth of Tom Canty. And everybody visited Edward Tudor, whereas nobody comes to see Tom Canty. So then Tom Canty was concerned as useless. Understand? He was ignored, right? He was concerned as not important. Understand? So that is the summary of this one. Right. Now, what is the challenge? Now you have to close the book. Right. Close the book. You have to think a bit, and you should express this idea in English language now. Okay? You have to collect the words and think of the ideas, and then you should express the same idea that you learned in chapter 1 in English, and it is not recorded as well. When you yourself presented ideas about the story, that you told the summary of the story, right? So you mentioned about the time duration and the location, geographical location, and you talked about how other people celebrated this particular specific occasion of the birth of Edward Tudor, right, the Prince of Wales, whereas you told that nobody cared about Tom Canty, right? So then, in your presentation, did you make some grammar mistakes? Did you make grammar mistakes? Right? Sometimes you made. Right? Is it okay? Yes, it is okay. Right? Because when we use a language, grammar mistakes naturally happen. Right? Then the other thing is that sometimes you found it difficult to communicate ideas and some stammering happens. You were stuck in the middle of the speech, right? So that is also okay. Understand? So that is natural. When you develop the habit of, when you develop the skill of speaking, it is something like driving. Understand? It is something like playing football. It is something like playing chess. Understand? Without the knowledge of the what you call the what are they called again, the different kinds of in chess we have different kind of things like pawn, knight, right? So without not knowing them, you can't play them. Understand? So in the same way, when you practice speaking, if you want to have a good skill of speaking, you have to practice like this. Understand? When you continuously practice it, you automatically get the skill. That is how you practice it. Now, when you speak English, you make some grammar mistake. It is okay, right? So there you don't have to worry about that. Other people try to catch up my own mistakes. Okay, that is natural, because I have seen professors also, English language professors also make mistakes. That is natural, because this is not our mother tongue. Understand? That is natural. So then don't worry about mistakes when you talk. Just communicate your ideas naturally. Okay. Now let's move on to the next part of it. Now you studied that part and you presented it. Now this is the time for writing it. Understand? So we practice listening, speaking, reading and writing. Now I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes. You have to keep everything aside, right? Keep everything aside and open your book. Open the book and write down, put the date. And I know that you have a separate book for the novel, right? If you don't have, use your pencil, and in that one, write down this question. Write the question. Write this question. Write a brief summary of chapter 1. Write a brief summary of Taja, you can write down the question. Write a brief summary of brief brief summary summary. Write a brief summary of chapter 1 in The Prince and the Pauper. Write a brief summary of chapter 1 in The Prince and the Pauper. Right. Now I am going to help you. Listen to me carefully. Now I am talking about writing. Okay? You need to focus your attention here. Writing is one of the 4 skills in English. Right? So, when you write something, it can be an essay. For exams, you have to write essays. Sometimes you have to write notices. Sometimes you have to write invitations. Sometimes you have to write 1 paragraph descriptions. Right? Sometimes you have to write personal letters. Sometimes you have to write official letters. Right? And in grade 10 onwards, you have to write chart descriptions. Pie charts, bar charts, tables. Right? As well as Venn diagrams. So they are analytical. So when you practice writing, listen to me, don't start at once. Understand? Don't start at once. So in writing we have 3 stages. Understand? 3 stages are there. What are the stages? Pre-writing, while writing, post-writing. What are the 3 stages? Pre-writing, while writing, post-writing. What is the meaning of pre-writing? Pre-school, pre-write. Before you write, you have to plan the content. Understand? When you are going to write something, don't start writing at once. You have to plan it. So for planning it, you have to create a rough draft. Understand? You should create a rough draft, and there you should mention as point forms. What is the first point, second point, third point, fourth point? So, following that particular rough draft, you start writing. Understand? So then you have to plan have to have a rough draft. Today we will start practicing that one. Okay? So these are the some skills of writing. Second one, then looking at that rough draft, something like the plan of the house. Okay? Plan of the house, the mason starts building it. Right? So sometimes he checks the plan again and again whether I'm on the right track or not, right? So in the same way, you have to do the same thing. Looking at that particular rough draft, you should start writing, right? When you write the things, it should have a particular order. What is it called? Order must be there. What do you mean by that? Introduction, body, conclusion. What is that? Introduction, body, conclusion. In the introduction, you introduce the idea. In the body, you describe the things. And in summary, you summarize. It is very similar to news presentation. News headlines, news in detail, and summary. Understand? So you can keep that in your mind as an example. Okay? Then, when you write paragraphs, a paragraph has a particular structure. What is that called? Topic sentence, supportive sentences, concluding sentence. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතේ එක paragraph එකක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි ඒක කියනවා topic sentence කියලා කියන්නේ. ආරම්භක වාක්‍ය. පැහැදිලිද? ඊට පස්සේ ලියනවා ඒකට උපකාරී වාක්‍ය ලියන්න. ඊට පස්සේ අපි ලියනවා මොකක්ද? අවසන් කරන වාක්‍ය. හරි? එතකොට ඒවා ඔක්කොම අපිට එක දවසේ ලියන්න පුළුවන්ද? දැන් මේකත් අර ක්‍රිකට් වගේ තමයි ටිකක් ලියාගෙන යනකොට තමයි ස්කිල් එක අපිට තේරෙන්නේ. වැරදි හරියන්න ඕනේ. හරි? ඔබට මොනවා හරි වචන අවශ්‍ය නම් මොන වගේ වචනද? Firstly, secondly, next, after that, then, finally, in summary, in the conclusion. ඒ වගේ අපිට අවශ්‍යයි නේ අපි කියනවා discourse markers කියලා කියනවා. What are they called? Discourse markers. අදහස් අතර සම්බන්ධතාවය පවත්වාගෙන to maintain the link between ideas, we use these discourse markers, or they are called transitional words as well. Discourse markers කියලා කියනවා. දැන් මේවත් ඔන්න ඔය rough draft එක හදලා තියුණා ලියා ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොන වගේ ඒවද? Firstly, ඊට practice කරලා බලමු. Firstly, තව first of all. තව in the inception, at the beginning. හරි? ඊට පස්සේ අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් තව ඊළඟට කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Next, then, after that. නේද? තවදුරටත් කියන්නේ moreover, further, furthermore. තව ඊට පස්සේ අපිට කියනවා ඊට අමතරව in addition, apart from that. එක අතකට අනිත් අතට කියලා කොහොමද කියන්නේ? On one hand, on the other hand. අවසානයේදී in conclusion, finally, at last, lastly. ඔන්න ඔය වචන පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. පැහැදිලිද? ඒ වගේම තමයි අදහසට සම්බන්ධතාවය පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. මේව මම කියන්නේ technical writing skills කියන්නේ. ඒතර ඒවා තමයි ඔය විභාගෙදි චෙක් කරන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ පාවිච්චි කරනවද නැද්ද කියලා. විභාගෙට රචනා ලියපුවම ලකුණු අඩු වෙන්නේ හේතුවක් තමයි අපි ඔය transitional words පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැති එක. So you have to use them. Okay? දැන් එහෙනම් අපි ලියන පළවෙනි එක නිසා පොඩි rough draft එකක් හදාගන්න. ඒ rough draft එකේ මොනවද ලියන්නේ කියන දේවල් ටික චූටි නෝට් එකක් හදාගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ ලියන්න. ලියලා ඉවරලා ආයෙ කියවලා බලන්න errors වෙලා තියෙනවා. මම දැන් while writing ගැන කතා කරේ නේද? මොකද්ද post writing කියන්නේ? Once the writing part is over, writing එක ඉවරනට පස්සේ you must read it. Why? ඒ කියන්නේ to identify your own mistakes and errors you have made. There can be spelling mistakes, there can be අපුණක් තියෙන පුළුවන් word order grammar mistakes can be there. now පටන් ගන්න we start. theory ගැන ගොඩක් හිතන්න එපා. rough draft එකක් විතරක් හදා ගන්න.